Good evening, everyone. This is the General Government Committee meeting. If you take your seats. Take your seats, please. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dennehy, absent. Councilmember Maloney,
Here.
Councilmember Schmischer,
Here.
Councilmember Stein,
Here.
Councilmember Tracy,
I'm here listening in.
Councilmember Worthington,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick,
Here.
Mayor Troutman.
Here.
Thank you. This is the General Government Committee meeting, and tonight we are discussing stormwater rates and water rates for water users in general. And I see that we have quite a number of people here that are attending this meeting. I believe that most of you, if not all of you, are here about water rates at 4 Mile Ranch. I just wanted to let you know this is what we're doing tonight is not a specific discussion of the situation with water rates at 4 Mile Ranch, except as part of the larger discussion of water rates citywide. There is a process going on. It's a process of negotiations right now where the city is addressing concerns of residents out at 4 Mile Ranch about information that you may have heard about pretty huge increases. That's not the purpose of this meeting tonight, but I do have a request to speak, and if there are others that would care to speak, I think we can certainly listen. But we do have another agenda that we do need to get to. But Barry Alford, if you'd like to start us off, that'd be great. And please tell us your name and your address, and then you can get started.
Good evening. My name is Barry Alford, ALFORD. I live at 4 Mile Ranch at 812 Pecos Point. We moved there about 4.5 years ago. I'm a native to Colorado, and we moved here for the quality of life here closest to the mountains, the best weather in Colorado. My wife and I are both retired on fixed income. We built our house out there because I'm an avid golfer. I belong to the season ticket holder, pass holder at 4 Mile Ranch. We love it out there. As far as I know, 4 Mile Ranch 18-hole golf course is the only golf course, 18-hole golf course between Pueblo West and Gunnison, 150 miles, at least in the summertime or wintertime. So my wife and I are both on fixed income, retired, and we not only assumed the large debt as far as the bond issue goes out there, but all of our assets are tied up in our home out there. We're very concerned about the future of not only the golf course, but the community out there. And I just hope that you'll be cognizant of our situation out there, not only 4 Mile Ranch, but the golf course, the future of the golf course, and the city of Canyon City. It's a great place to live, and I play golf a lot with folks that come here, not only from this community, but from a lot of them come down from Colorado Springs, Woodland Park. After that golf course closes up there, they come down in the wintertime. We get them from all over the southern part of the state. Whenever I play golf with the folks, at the end of our round, I say, "Hey, where's a good place to eat in Canyon City?" So I always direct them not only to the national chains, but mostly to the locally, the ones on Main Street, the Owl, all the locally owned businesses. So it's a huge impact, not only for the income of the golf course. And I'm not privy to their books, so I don't know their financial situation and all that, but I do know my financial situation, and I'm very concerned. But it's not only the income that comes into the golf course, but it's the income and impact for the community itself. So I certainly hate to lose 4 Mile Ranch as a destination. And I know that they're trying to make it into a destination golf course. The plans are huge. It's going to be a great impact for the city. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you for that.
Thank
you. I do know council is quite aware of the economic impacts of 4 Mile Ranch, and all those considerations are going into the negotiations as they go forward. And I think I can speak for myself, but I think it perhaps reflects council that we do want to see a successful golf course out there, and that I can't say very much more of that because it is being actively negotiated, the actual terms that can happen. But I do want to tell you again, this is what we are talking about is stormwater rates and water rates in general for the city. If someone else would like to speak, I'd just ask that you don't reiterate perhaps things that have already been said, but if you have a different concern or something and you'd like to fill out a slip, you can do that afterwards. But if you have something to say, we'd be glad to listen to you tonight. Okay, thank you for that. So our agenda tonight is stormwater rates and water rates, and if you have a comment on that, that's this is a more informal meeting than our city council meetings, and the only thing that we'd ask is you fill out a paper, a request to speak, but other than that, we'd be glad to hear from you if you have something to say. Okay. Thank you. Sure. And with that, Mr. City Administrator, are we? Oh, you want to speak right now? Is that?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
When is the right time? I'm really just for the water rates.
Sure.
I don't need to go in front of the stormwater rates.
Oh, okay. So that's what we'll do is we'll get back on our agenda if we can here, and there'll certainly be opportunity to hear you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick. Tonight we'll be talking about stormwater rates and water rates, as he indicated. We will have our Public Works Director, Leo Evans, talk about stormwater rates. Just as a reminder, City Council approved looking at how we calculate stormwater rates. That work is currently underway. I think Leo might talk about that a little bit during the presentation, but for the public's awareness, we are looking at how that is calculated. Leo, do you want to go ahead and get started, or Tammy?
Rock, paper, scissors? I'll go. All right. So for stormwater rates this year, we are proposing a 2.7% increase. That was selected based on a CPI for Colorado ranging between 2.6 and 2.8%. So this is a purely inflationary request based on just cost increases year over year. Work that out, roughly for an average residential customer, that represents about a $6.51 increase per year. For the average non-residential customer, that's about a $33.56 a year increase. As Ryan mentioned, we have begun work on a rate study. We've discussed it a couple times. We are looking to propose moving the residential stormwater utility to a flat rate rather than an impervious surface, so that properties would essentially pay the flat monthly rate rather than how much pavement or how much roof space they have on their property. Commercial would likely still stay as an impervious, but we've also tasked our rate study professional with looking at a discount program. So for properties that actively manage and treat their stormwater, there would be potential for discounts available to them. And I think what's the other slide? Yeah, so that's really the long and short of stormwater. We expect that rate study to get done in 2026. I'm hopeful that it'll be around April or May. We'll be able to kind of present those findings through Water Committee. Then at one of these General Government or Vision Committee meetings, They could potentially be adopted midstream, or they could be tabled until this time next year when we kind of look at rates as a whole. Any of those changes would require ordinance revisions, so it will be a drawn-out process if we decide to go that route.
So tonight, what we need is, in order to prepare for the November 17th council meeting, we are asking for direction is whether or not council would like us to bring forward the ordinance for the 2.7% increase.
And just perhaps a little more context before we turn to the city council members up here. Essentially, our stormwater program, from my perspective, or how I view it, is composed of really two parts. One is where we are complying with state mandates, EPA mandates for stormwater programs for cities of our size. And the other part that we're dealing with in stormwater is the actual infrastructure, the ditches, retention ponds, detention ponds, and stormwater conveyance structures that need to be in place to protect property and to ensure that people can travel the streets safely and not having to go through a lot of standing water with their vehicles. So this increase that we're talking about, the 2.7%, covers both of those, funds both of those activities.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. And you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. Could you speak a little bit more about the proposed new way that is under consideration, the study that's being done? Is it one flat rate for all residences regardless of size?
No, I believe what we had asked them to propose was a tiered rate based on lot size, essentially, I think is one of the ways we've seen other Colorado municipalities tier that. So they would take a sample of, say, lots that are 10,000 square feet. What's the average impervious surface for a lot of that size? That's the monthly rate. Lots of an acre, what's the average impervious surface? Lots over an acre.
Thank you, that's helpful. And then I know I received multiple questions in the lead up to this meeting of folks who are really interested in understanding how we spend our stormwater dollars, how much we have in reserves, and kind of what are we accomplishing with the stormwater dollars, and why do we need an inflationary increase? Why do we need an increase at all? Looking at the 2026 budget, it doesn't seem like it's not readily apparent. So if you could just talk us through a little bit more
Sure.
about what stormwater dollars are spent on, what some of the priorities are for 2026, and beyond just this is what the CPI is, why do you see this need? Thanks.
Yep, absolutely. The biggest driver of need that we have right now is to kind of keep up with our capital programming. To back up, I guess, we generate around $2.7 to $2.8 million annually in revenue in the stormwater utility. The largest part of that, about $2.5 million, is derived directly from those monthly fees that all residents and properties in the city pay. The other small pieces are impact fees that are assessed against new properties that are developed in the city, interest, things like that. I think there's a little bit of cost allocation repayment that's ongoing right now from previous years where the Stormwater Fund had overpaid for some things. If you look at our expenses as a whole, we spend around, I will say, $500,000 a year on staff and supplies. We have a full-time staff of 3 in the Stormwater Fund. We have 2 that are field workers that do all of the work that John mentioned in terms of cleaning out all the culverts and making sure the ditches are flowing and maintaining the things that we are responsible to maintain. And we have 1 full-time staff that manages all of our permits and our federal MS4 permit compliance requirements that are mandated by the EPA. Supplies is a part of that. We have to buy pipe, we have to buy gravel, we have to buy concrete, things like that. That's about $100,000 a year. Contracted services is about $500,000 a year. The largest portion of that is our vegetation management contract. We as a city don't have and maintain the equipment to mow and take care of all of these stormwater properties we own. We own several large detention basins that we're responsible for, as well as several major channels that we're responsible to keep clear of vegetation and maintain throughout the year. We contract for that service currently. This year, it was done through Moonrock Landscaping. Usually gets awarded in, I want to say, March or April annually, as most of their expense kind of comes through the summer and early fall. The other parts of the program, another big line item is transfer to other funds. We do about $400,000 in that. The biggest portion of that is that the Stormwater Fund pays for about $200,000 worth of street sweeping expenses. I would have to have the cost allocation in front of me. I think it's like 60% of the street sweeping is covered by stormwater and 40% is general fund, but don't quote me exactly on that. Stormwater also pays small amounts into other funds. You know, we have 3 employees, so we pay, 3 employees worth of human resource salary to manage our employees. We pay water billing because the water billing and stormwater billing is done concurrently. I think those are the kind of the bigger pieces of it would be the street sweeping and the utility billing. Debt service is one of our largest expenses. It's roughly $600,000 a year. City took out about $8 million in debt in 2018, and that's a 20-year repayment, so we'll be servicing that debt through 2038. That was used to complete a number of projects. We did a number of culvert replacements in Dawson Ranch. We extended storm sewer up 9th Street when that piece of 9th Street was reconstructed. And we funded the Rhodes Avenue Stormwater Project that's still ongoing. So as you'll look at the 26 budget, there's still a large capital expense program for that. That's largely still just drawing down those COP dollars from 2008, or 18, sorry. With that, we do end up with around $500,000 or $600,000 that's kind of unallocated between our expense and revenue. We use that to program for capital needs. Right now in the city, we have, I want to say, at least 10 different master plans that cover different areas of the city, different drainage basins, and all have their own separate capital needs that aren't weighted or prioritized against one another. We don't have what I would call a master plan like water does now that kind of lays everything out systematically. We take those capital dollars and try to use them where we have opportunities to make the most benefit of them with two-way projects. So for example, this year in 2026, I believe we're proposing roughly $400,000 to do additional extension of the storm sewer up 9th Street in conjunction with that two-way project. And then we hold about $200,000 in reserve for a capital project. I will call those like a triage project, things that pop up unexpectedly that we're maybe not long-range planning for, but that are presenting a risk to property or things of that nature. We did the Osprey Court Channel in Dawson Ranch was done under that auspice last year, or I'm sorry, I think we actually awarded it at the very end of 2024, and then most of the work was completed in 2025. The channel was eroding and starting to threaten some properties up there with collapse of, their yards and their houses and things like that. So that's the long of it.
Leo, can you talk about some of the upcoming projects? You mentioned 9th Street, but there's some big stormwater needs down on Central and some other capital projects that may be coming up here in the next few years. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're always pursuing, and we pursued last year, a master plan grant to try to get all these projects prioritized out. I'm trying to think, the biggest ones we have coming up align with the 2A, which after last night appears that's going to continue, so we're going to have to try to keep pace with that. Griffin is going to be the next big one in 2027. We've got that project designed between 4th and 9th on Griffin. And just like I said, trying to use those dollars as best we can where we have other funds to leverage against them for the best effect.
And if I might add on to that, very cogent presentation there, one of the drivers is that if we look at the overall city stormwater system, there was a 2017 study, I believe it was, that said that we had about $70 million in capital just for handling stormwater quantity, stormwater runoff, and we all know what has happened to inflation between then and now. We've made somewhat of a dent in it by using the COP borrowed funds to knock off some of those projects, but if just the way budgeting and expenses have gone, that 70 million is probably, we have probably not reduced it at all with the money that we've spent, and it's probably even a lot larger than that if we did that study again. Other questions from the panel? Yes, Jerry.
Oh, go ahead, Preston.
I don't get to talk or vote very often. That's true. So anyway, I just see on the stormwater fund, and I'm not a fan, but that's me, revenues of 2.859678 and expenses of 5992107. Are we taking money out of that loan to do that?
Yeah,
Or
that's-
why are we balancing that?
A large, I think about $3 million of that is that Rhodes Avenue project. That's the estimated value to finish it. So without that project, the revenue expenses are pretty close to balancing one another at that 2.8, 2.9 million.
And none of that's a grant from anybody?
No, that is the leftover COP funds and then the cash reserves that we've built in the years that we've, between when those COPs were issued and now.
And it says potential grants. How potential are those?
We pursue the, I forget the name of the program. It's the DOLA Energy and Mineral Impact Grant, has a small grant program that funds master plans and things like that. That's where we envision pursuing that master plan effort to try to consolidate our 10 or more various stormwater plans and get them into one cognizant, aligned plan that has our priorities laid out.
And for the audience, an impact fee. Would you explain that?
Yep, impact fee is a fee that's assessed against a property when it goes from a undeveloped parcel to a developed parcel. It's a one-time fee of 24.69 cents per square foot of impervious surface area that's added. So when you take an empty lot and build a house on it, it's usually about a $700 or $800 fee that's assessed at that time that is intended to cover capital expenses in the city. That fund was set up to pay for that 70 million that Councilmember Hamrick mentioned. Generates around $40,000 a year with our building rates we're at now. And yeah,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
welcome.
Yes, Jerry.
I was just curious, for tonight's purposes, we're discussing whether we like this 2.7% increase, or are we also waiting for information on the tiered flat rate option?
Tonight, we're just discussing if the 2.7% is of interest to you so that Tammy can prepare the ordinance and have that back at a later meeting. The tiered rate would come, I would guess, around April or May. We'll have that study kind of in draft and come back to present that and see if that's a change of direction we want to take.
So that would be for like the following year, potentially?
Yes, most likely.
And so, yes, I was just going to say, so tonight, as I understand it, we are just giving the thumbs up or a thumbs down. This is a general government meeting, and we're not reaching any conclusions, but we are offering guidance to staff. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective, because we don't have that comprehensive plan of what it is that we want to do with the funds, and first off, Leo, I should say thank you. That was a really comprehensive and cogent report out on what is being done in stormwater. But given that we have this kind of uncertainty around what are our priorities, are we going to get that grant funding for the master plan? And we're also looking at doing a new stormwater rate structure anyway. I think I'd rather just leave it flat. I think folks are facing enough increases in enough areas of life that we don't need to do a 2.7% inflationary increase if we don't have a very specific target or project or thing that we are trying to fund. Thanks.
I would have to agree with you on that. I just don't, I appreciate that. I understand inflation and all that, my business too, but I really wouldn't be interested do I get a vote? No.
This is a thumbs up or thumbs down.
A thumbs up, okay, well, then I get a thumbs on this.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further, and I want to remind our Councilperson Emily Tracy that is online. We can't see a hand if you put it up, so if you do have a comment, just jump in, please, Emily.
I can't raise a hand or a thumb, but when you want input from me, I can give it.
Sure.
I'll just briefly say I appreciate the presentation. I think that's really helpful to hear the level of detail that was provided. I'm okay with doing the inflationary increase, knowing that we'll be revisiting all of this when we get more detail from the study next year. So, but I'm in favor of it now. Thanks.
Thank you. Other questions from council? Yes, sir. Would you like to address us on this, Mr. Weed? Ex-councilperson Weed.
You've got 1 minute, Dennis.
Big surprise, huh? Well, first off, I say with the 2.7% inflationary increase, I would encourage you to pass on that for now. Government will always find a way to spend any money they have. If it was a 10% increase, you'd be able to spend 10%, and if it was 0, you would survive. But so I got this little handout that was put out about this Stormwater Fund fact sheet, and it would appear as if, doing some simple math, that over the 20 years this program has been in effect, the stormwater fee has pulled in somewhere between $40 and $50 million. Okay, and I'm not exactly sure where all of that has gone. Now, one of the comments that I have made repeatedly over the years is that the stormwater fee is not being used the way it was originally intended to be used. I was on the council when it was passed. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It was intended to build a war chest, a fund to fund stormwater projects, not fund different government or city offices. And using this fact sheet, in the past I've said somewhere around a third of the stormwater fee that's collected is being used to fund city staff operations. And using the numbers on this sheet, it's 30.7% is going to fund. And just a couple of comments is like the money that goes to street sweeping. We were sweeping streets way before MS4 ever came along. That hasn't changed. That's always been a part of what we do. And I don't know why now the stormwater fund is responsible for sweeping streets. I mean, it's always been there. And the engineering department, isn't that the job of the engineering department to do engineering projects? And I don't know what other funds the engineering department charges against, but the job of the engineering department is to do engineering. And then I guess my last comment would be that I honestly have a hard time believing that we need 3 full-time people to manage our stormwater activities. I mean, unless they're actually going out and cleaning ditches, I mean, what are they doing for 6,000 hours a year? Seriously, what are they doing?
They're going out and cleaning ditches. They use the vac truck to go out and clean the ditches and the culverts. It's a 2-person vac truck.
It's for 250 days a year. That's a lot of ditches. It's I just think that the stormwater fee is not being intended for what it is not being used for what it was originally intended to be used for. And I would say pass on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Weed. Director Evans, I think you mentioned the full cost allocation plan. Could you remind us, and Tammy may know this more offhand, could you remind us when the most recent one was passed so that we can take a look at that and remind ourselves as to how much each person is being funded by the stormwater and water enterprise funds?
We did approve one late last year, and right now we are finalizing the one for 2024, and it will be coming to council before year end for approval or for acceptance.
Thank you, that's helpful. So if I looked in the agendas for December of last year, would I likely find it there?
Was it November? We were trying to look at that earlier. It was either November or December. The report was from October of '24, and it was for calendar year or fiscal year 2023.
Okay, thank you. And that, just for general awareness, the full cost allocation plan kind of lays out, okay, 3% of Tammy's time is spent on water, 5% of the Director of Public Works is spent on water, that sort of thing. Those numbers are in no way correct, but it just kind of outlines how much of the more general shared services are actually spent on water and stormwater. Is that a fair characterization of it?
They do allocate based on the percentage of time we spend in various areas, so yes.
Thank you.
Other comments from council
Could
or
I-
questions?
Well, yeah, I see the salaries and wages, and I see the purchase services, and that says vegetation management after that. We've said that we have people taking care of ditches, but yet we have $230,000 in vegetation management. I'd like, if I could, get a breakdown of salary and wages. We got 3 people in there and $428,000. I'd apply there for work, but I just don't like this stormwater crap. Look, we're being picked on because we have 17,000 in population. The whole damn county doesn't pay anything into this, but Canyon City does. And I know it's mandated by the federal government. I think they should pay for this. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I know you agree with me on this. Look at what we're taking from our town of resources that we could be using elsewhere. We're just not charging the people. I'm furious at this, and it's always been that way. And I'm not going to be mayor next year, but this is irritating to me. Look at that. There's almost $1 million there in salaries and wages and purchases, and I got a problem with it. Florence doesn't do it. They don't do it for Cotopaxi. That's all along the river. We're being dinged for this. You citizens understand that? That's our federal government and our state government. Oh my God, it's going to rain. Yeah, it's going to go to the river. It just disgusts me. All right, I'm off my soapbox. You'll never ask me to talk again.
I would remind the mayor that at one point there was something that was called the Sagebrush Rebellion, which was based on unfunded mandates from the federal government. It was many years ago, but I do remember that undertaking where there was a lot of pushback on the federal government for unfunded mandates. Perhaps it's we're ready for round 2.
We
right?
should push.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a short comment. I know, and I've only lived here for like going on 9 years now, but I do know because I've been on the board of the hydraulic ditch. I have endured people's ire over stormwater, over ditch water, and if you wake up some morning after a hard night's rain and your basement is flooded, your front yard is flooded, maybe your whole foundation is flooded, your street is flooded, it's up over the hubcaps on your tires. Who you gonna call? You're gonna call the city. And we live in a basin. It's partially desert, high plains desert. The soil is not good for absorbing all this moisture. And just the next time there's a crisis with water, just remember somebody has to clean the mess up. And it's not for free. Thank you.
Thank you. For the comments, I'd like to go around and hear a thumbs up or thumbs down on the 2.7%. Councilmember Schmischer, can we start with you?
Thumbs down.
I'm kind of neutral because we are looking at several increases this year. I would like more detail because this is a discussion, but we're not voting for anything tonight. I would like some more information other than it's an inflationary increase because we are facing water rates and stormwater rates, and there's a lot of other things that are going on that are, we have, as I said at the regular meeting this week, we have food insecurity in this town right now. So a lot of people, they're at the breaking edge. So I would say we need to think long and hard about this and what the trade-offs are before we make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember,
Oh, what's her name? I'm of the same opinion. It's mostly a thumbs down at this point. I'd rather not make a recommendation until, frankly, the study is completed and we have an idea as to the difference between, say, this inflationary increase and what we might be looking at when we're looking at flat rates. So I'm going to be pretty much of a thumbs down right now.
I as well, thumbs down right now. I'm with Preston. I want to kind of see what's going on here with these numbers a little bit more. And also the flat rate study, I'd like to see how that would pan out.
so for those of you that are citing the flat rate study, even if this were to come back in November, you would not be ready to support it without having that study in our hands. Do I understand that correctly? Okay.
Well, obviously, it's thumbs down, and I frankly would like to see a cap set. That's all you're going to spend. I think maybe the federal government would get it, that this is what we can afford, and this is all we're going to pay. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but having been in lots of regulated industries, I know the government has big teeth, and they can be pretty sharp. And when the government's in business. And my feelings, I certainly understand the inflationary aspect, and I would be more on wanting to hear more, a little bit better breakdown on exactly what we're getting, how the money's being spent. And I could be persuaded to vote for it, but it would be dependent on the quality of the information we got at the time. And she spoke earlier. So I think she indicated support. We're just discussing whether Councilmember Tracy indicated support or not, and I believe that was a yes, that she did indicate
That's
support.
correct. That's correct. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. And so I believe that takes us to water rates.
Hello. Slide 4 is the cost of service Phase 1, residential inside city limits. So the cost of service is the recommended by council method that we take, the 3-year phased-in approach for the cost of service. So this would be year 1. This would be an equal amount added each year before the 7% rate increase. Rate study completed in 2024 recommends a 7% increase annually through 2034. So you can see this is for strictly residential inside city limits. Overall percent change listed through the three tiers, 9.7, 9.5, and 9.7 respectively. And goes on with the other user groups, non-res, multi-city, public golf course, and group users. You can see the overall change. And again, this is year one cost of service with the 7% added in. These are the meter fees that would also be changing. The meter fees are not going to be phased in or not proposed to be phased in. This is all done in one fell swoop of first year increases. So you can see the overall changes to those 9%. And then as they get bigger, they generally will be decreases as we go. Except for the last two, 8 and 10 inch taps. So then we move on to residential outside city limits. If you might remember, outside city limits are billed at 1.5 times inside city limits, so it just outlines those changes for residential. Then we move on to outside city limits of the two user groups, non-residential and multi-unit. So your group user, your golf course, and your city are all billed at one rate. There isn't any differentiation between inside and outside. And the outside city limits meter charges proposed first year and the percent changes associated with those. Then we move on to zone charges. So these are the parts of the city that have to get serviced by a pump station. So the cost of service is phased in over 3 years with equal amounts added each year. First year shows a significant increase primarily due to the rate not being adjusted since 2015. These zone charges are not subject to annual increases. So when we talk about 7% increases, these zone charges are not subject to that. These zone charges help to offset the cost of delivering water to areas that it cannot be effectively serviced based on gravity alone. Delivering water to these areas require the use of electricity, capital improvement costs of the pump station and tanks themselves, and a certain amount of salaries for people to go service that. So this is an overall map. You can see the color codes of our different
Travis,
zones.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Do you mind going back one? Could I just ask a question on this before we leave it?
Sure.
I think what I heard you say is that the last time they were updated was 2015?
Correct.
And that they aren't subject to the normal kind of 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7% increases. Could you let us know, I mean, are you anticipating that this is something that needs to be updated maybe every 5 years, or so that it's on a more regular schedule, even though it doesn't need to be updated every year, just so that we don't get into the same situation again?
Yeah, we have had those conversations. We haven't really landed on a solution yet, whether that be an inflationary increase, if those are the way to roll, or whether we do every 5 years or whatnot. This rate study does encompass 10 years, so we wouldn't foresee doing another rate study for another 10 years. So I think it'd be appropriate to take a look at those pump zone surcharges alone, maybe in at least 3 to 5 years.
Okay,
But yeah,
thanks.
we have had those discussions, just haven't landed on a solution yet.
It'd be helpful, I mean, I know you guys have a lot on your plate, but if it is possible to kind of have that a little bit more fleshed out or thought through when we're discussing the water rates, it would be helpful to know kind of what your thinking is on that. Either that's the November 17th or the first meeting in December. Thanks.
So with the zone charges, moving to the cost of service, we will see an increase or potential increase if council chooses to for the next 3 years, because it is spread out over 3 years, so there would be that.
Okay, so this is a map of pump zones. The tan is the gravity zone, and you can see the other color codes for the 3 zones in Dawson. You can barely see the yellow for North 9th, but that'll be on the next slide. And then the 4 mile is the orange to the east of town. So those are the areas that we were talking about when we have surcharges on water rates. So this is Zone 1B, North 9th pump station. Tonight we have the proposed water increase impacts to budget. Over the next 3 years, it's anticipated that the general fund would transfer between $258,850 and $375,985 to the water fund to provide an economic development incentive to the golf course. This figure was calculated based on the actual 2024 consumption for the golf course. This amount could vary depending on actual consumption. This, of course, is subject to council approval. Council will be provided with various scenarios which determine the amount of assistance. So that could be difference in whether we just freeze the 2025 rates, whether we add in the 7% increases, and whether we add in the increase to pumping. So that's kind of how you see those differentiations of the roughly 258,000 to 375,000 of economic incentives that we would be doing over the next 3 years. And then the Parks Fund, turn my page over.
Travis?
Yep.
I had just one quick question.
Mhm.
The economic incentives, would they come out of our enterprise fund?
No, as we're talking about them now, that'd be general fund.
Okay, thank you.
You will see in the budget, in the general fund, you would see a transfer out to the water fund. In the water fund, you would then see a revenue for the transfer, and then you would see an expense for the economic development incentive.
I believe in the 2026 budget, it's budgeted as 57,200. Is that budgeted on for the golf course offset? Is that budgeted on the 2024 actual consumption with the 7% increase included?
I believe it was. I believe it was with the 7% included.
It was budgeted with 7% included, but it was based on doing a 7% and then adding the change in the rate spread out. So we did some recalculations. That's why this number is at the 60,000 versus the 57,000, whatever it was, 57,700.
So will the updated budget that we see at the continued budget hearing have 60,000 instead of the 57.2?
We do have, I think, the 60,000 in general fund set there, and that is basically at the worst case scenario under our different scenarios that council could look at as the incentive.
Gotcha. And then just to make sure I'm following, so the golf course itself wouldn't actually see a change in what we're charging them. However, the rate would be changed, but we would handle the kind of the economic development incentive entirely in-house with that transfer from the general fund to the water fund.
That's what still needs to be determined, is if the golf course rates, the amount the actual golf course pays, if it is frozen at the 2025 rates, or if they will receive, if they will absorb the 7% increase, or what, and that's why we have that varying range.
And the last time we did this and did an incentive for the golf course, it was handled internally. It wasn't money going out and then getting paid back. It was transferred from the general fund to the water fund.
Understood. And I know that the 4 Mile Ranch, the new owners at 4 Mile Ranch are working very diligently and hard to figure out a sustainable transition. I guess I would be a little bit concerned if we didn't include the golf course rate in the normal, kind of across the board, all of the rates are getting the same increase, because I think then at the end of 3 years, we might be in a rather difficult position. But I am glad to hear that we are kind of budgeting for the worst case scenario in terms of what the economic offset might need to be. Thanks.
So on the Parks Improvement Fund, we're anticipating that they would incur nearly $200,000 in additional costs associated directly to the water over the next 3 years. This is based on the actual consumption from 2024, and of course will vary depending on depending on water conservation efforts and the weather. After the full implementation, the Parks Fund could potentially incur over $110,000 in additional water costs each year. To help offset increased costs to the Parks Improvement Fund, the city could implement a fee for renting the parks pavilions to follow along with what the Recreation District currently does. We would have proposed pricing would be $25 for the first 2 hours and $12.50 for each additional hour. That is a way to help the Parks Fund be able to cover some of the additional costs.
Sorry, I'm 100% against that concept. I think that people in the city pay already for city amenities. The parks are a city amenity. We have a lot of folks in our community who aren't able to afford birthday party venues for their children, and I don't think that it's too much to ask that they be able to use the Rotary-funded pavilion down at Centennial Park for a birthday party or a family celebration. I understand that there may be some concern that folks are booking the park pavilions for half a day or all day when they actually only need them for a couple hours. So I would suggest maybe we have a first 2 hours are free, and if you need it for longer than that, then there's a charge that goes on to it. But the park pavilions have always been free in our community, and I don't think that we need to start charging people to use them now. Thanks.
I would have to agree with that. And in addition, that keeps me off the big sign.
Okay, so to prepare for the November 17th council meeting, staff's asking for direction on the preparation of the rate change ordinance. Based on the consensus from city council from 3 options, staff will prepare the draft ordinance for consideration. So we have, if you remember the adjusted cost of service from before, just a flat 7% rate increase, no change in structure, or as presented, the phased-in approach, the 3-year phased-in approach with a 7% increase.
Sure.
Thanks. Travis, forgive me if you covered this already in your presentation, but my understanding is that the 7% rate increase was kind of the need for it was outlined pretty extensively in the water master plan and is further kind of supported by the work that we're now finally able to do on North 9th and hopefully in the near future Griffin, because we have these 2A dollars, but we can't replace some of the streets that need it the most because they have 100-year-old water infrastructure underneath. Now that we finally have the drinking water revolving loan fund that will enable us to replace that infrastructure so that, we awarded North 9th, and hopefully with, with 2A moving forward, we'll be able to tackle some of the other major streets soon. We have to have this 7% increase to actually be able to pay back the capital improvements that we are funding.
Yeah,
Do I understand that well? Could
that
you
debt service
add
was
anything?
was definitely figured into the rate study when we were looking at these 7% increases, debt service from that, as well as COPs that we took out as well in 2017. But yeah, 7% does include debt service for the loan that we just secured for those road projects. And it is a good point that with the passing of 2A, a fantastic thing, it is additional infrastructure replacement that the water department does see, and doesn't necessarily always come as the highest priority water mains that we want to replace. They are important to replace. Aging infrastructure always is, but it wouldn't necessarily be our first choice of water mains. Generally, 9th Street, College, and Griffin are the exceptions for sure. Those are old water mains with fairly high leak history, so we're very excited to get those replaced.
Okay. Other comments, or is that your presentation? Are we at the end of the presentation?
We do have another slide, future.
Right, but before we move on to that last slide, we would like to receive direction as to which way we need to prepare that ordinance.
Sure.
So I am in support of the phased in with the 7% rate increase across the board. I think that this is a reasonable way forward. It ensures that everybody's paying their fair share for water, but it does it slowly over 3 years, and it also includes the economic development incentive from the general fund for the 4 Mile Ranch Golf Course so that they have the time that they need to make the changes that they're working on. And also, we have the time to finalize the agreement that the city and 4 Mile Ranch owners are working on. So I'm in support of the last one.
Councilmember Stein?
Yes, and I agree. I agree, phased in with a 7% rate increase as presented is the way I think we should go.
Thank you. Councilmember Worthington?
I agree. The phased-in approach, please.
I was partial to the no change in the structure. However, I can be persuaded, since it looks like we're making some concessions for the golf course. I'm really looking forward to those multi-unit rents to go down because their water will go down, which I'm being facetious. But it seems like the consensus is the 3-year phased in. But I'm happy that we're working on some options for economic incentives for the golf course.
Thank you. Mayor Trotman?
And I agree that it is economic, vital economic structure that we have out there in the golf course, and that needs to be taken care of. And I think that is, while I don't like increases either, I think probably number 3 is probably the better, and I'd like to see that. Okay? Thanks, Travis.
Councilmember Tracy, would you like to weigh in?
Sure, thanks. I think we got a lot of great information when we had that water study done and the water rate study and the capital needs and all of that. And I think there are definitely different ways to go on this, but I agree with the approach presented to do the increase with the phased-in approach.
Thank you for that, and I'll make it unanimous. Yes, Councilmember Worthington, yes, correct.
I just didn't want him to be forgotten.
No,
if he wanted to
we're
say
not
something.
going to forget. And I do want to make sure that people understand the distinction between our water rate discussion for consumers, for citizen consumers versus golf courses and city parks. That those are different topics and have different results. But is there someone who'd like to speak on this subject? Yes, sir.
Hello again. I haven't heard anybody talk about the conceptual drawing that's out there at 4 Mile Parkway and the junction of 123. The eventual build-out calls for over 2,200 units, both commercial and residential. Is there going to have to be a complete overhaul of the water system for this community to provide water? I know that the developer is probably going to be paying for the infrastructure, but the end product, is there going to have to be a complete overhaul of the community's water system and the availability of the GPM? I mean, you're looking at, if they're fully occupied, it's going to be like 2.5 persons per unit. So you're talking an increase of people to this community of about 6,000 to 7,000 once it's completely built out. So I guess my concern is nobody's talked about the build out of that conceptual drawing out there. So I'd just like to get some comment about the availability of water and the current system that would provide that water.
Sure, thank you. If I could kind of put some context around the question, as I understand it, your question is really kind of an engineering question, talking about gallons per minute and what's going to happen there. And Superintendent Payne, would you like to?
Sure. One of the nice things that we did get out of our water master plan was a working water model. So far, it's been a really good tool for developments like this, that they can evaluate what those water needs are. So they not only evaluate what size of water mains they need to serve the development internally, but offsite as well. So do those improvements need to be made throughout the water system to be able to serve that development? So we're going through the process right now, and the short answer looks like no. I mean, we don't need a complete overhaul of any water mains that are going through the town to be able to serve the 4 Mile Development District, but they will have to do some pretty extensive infrastructure inside the development to be able to serve all the homes that they need.
Thank you.
And Travis, you can probably talk a little bit more about this as well, but as far as our water treatment plant goes, we have plenty of capacity for the full build-out. We have plenty of water rights for the full build-out. You know,
We sure
all of
do.
those things are not concerns for this development.
Yeah, all those aspects were looked at in the Water Master Plan. 4 Mile Development was included in that Water Master Plan for future developments, and we have plenty of water rights as well as capacity in our treatment for actually full build-out of the city, developable lots and whatnot. So we're not bumping on the ceiling of being nervous about that quite yet.
And just to remind people, but we do have a water committee meeting, which is it's the fourth Tuesday, is that right? No, fourth Wednesday of every month.
We call it the last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday of
Yeah,
every month, which
yeah.
is a public meeting where these topics are also discussed with our citizen panel. They are open to the public if you're interested and like to drop in on sometime. They're here, generally in these chambers, although sometimes we move it upstairs, but starts at 2 o'clock and generally, and can last until 4 o'clock, depending on the subjects that are presented. So that is available as a potential information source. And it's also a good way to come and interact directly with city council members, our water superintendent, and other citizens about some of these important subjects, such as do we have a good supply of water for the future and capacity in our plant and things like that. Yes.
Just one caveat that the November and December meetings have been canceled, and the
Thank you
next
very
one will
much.
be in January.
Thank you for that reminder.
It is a challenge for the last Wednesday of the month when we get into the holiday season.
It is. That it is. So, yes.
Could I ask, and I know Mr. Sims may still want to speak as well, but could I ask that we also, I think city staff have proposed the Parks Pavilion fee, and I know that I and the mayor have provided direction on that, but I think it may be helpful to hear if the rest of council is supportive or not supportive of a Parks Pavilion fee, so that we can also provide direction on that, given that that is currently in the budget. Thanks.
Thanks. Councilmember Worthington, why don't you get us started?
Okay, I do agree with the non-charge to begin with. I do see potential benefit to perhaps charging after maybe either 2-3 hours, something that way, because we, as far as myself and Car Club that I belong to, have had an issue to where it was our time for the pavilion and there were other groups still there. So I think the caveat of having the potential for a little bit of cost after a certain period of time is a good incentive to leave when you're supposed to. So thank you.
It's more about scheduling, right? So you're saying that there was an issue with people saying, I want it from this time to this time, and they were either not there or they were going over their time? Is that what you were saying?
I'm just saying that we've never charged for it in the past. City staff is now asking to charge for it. I don't think we should.
No, I don't.
If the issue is scheduling, that might be a way to help. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think it's really enough to be worried about, just as long as we tackle the scheduling problem, yeah.
Thank you.
I just don't want to go on that big sign again. Sorry. I'm fun. Don't believe the sign.
Thank you. Councilmember Tracy, would you like to weigh in on this issue?
I really don't have a strong view one way or another on this particular issue.
Thank you. My feelings are somewhat in line with Councilmember Schmischer's. You know, I think originally I was in favor of a fee for those, but I hear the concern, and I think considering the community that we serve and that we intend to serve, it would be good to have a grace period for no fee for the pavilion. But I am also aware that there probably needs to be something to encourage people not to abuse it, and so having a fee for being there when you don't have when it's not reserved. Although I'm not sure exactly who you call in that case, you know. But it might be the implementation might be a little bit difficult, but perhaps we can work through those problems later. Anyone else care to address us tonight? Any other issues on our agenda? Was fire lines and Parks Pavilion rental fees okay? So we've
Nope, all good. We just put this last slide in as kind of a placeholder that we do intend to talk about these two topics, although we've talked about one quite extensively, so no problem at all. But if you remember from the rate study, it was also detailed that there could be a monthly fire line surcharge. Staff decided to carve that out from the water rate discussion to kind of simplify and not take too big of a bite in one ordinance, but it'd be reserved for a future conversation.
And tell us a little bit more about exactly which fire lines we're talking about.
So we're talking about the fire lines that are serving individual parcels of land. Those service lines, we don't charge a tap fee for those. We have to reserve capacity not only in our water treatment plant, but mostly our storage tanks to be able to handle those potentially high fire flows. And so the rate study kind of identified those as a separate customer group and identified a cost that could be attributed just a monthly fee. We'd gone back and forth whether we start charging a tap fee for the fire lines or whether a monthly maintenance fee would be more appropriate, and the general consensus was the general monthly fee was more appropriate, so it wasn't a hindrance to development.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is the end of the presentation.
That is the official end of the presentation.
Any other comments from council or members of staff?
I'm sorry. Travis, do you need direction on the fire lines?
No. It was just, I know we had talked about it earlier. It was in an earlier presentation when we were talking about rate studies, so I just wanted to outline that it was slotted for future conversation, and we're not dealing with it in this ordinance.
Thank you. And I think that we have come to the end of the meeting, and with that, we're adjourned.